Good morning. My name is Sarah Gergel, and I am a part of the Living Archives Project, where we are collecting stories of how COVID-19 impacted various communities around Charlotte-Mecklenburg County. Today is December 7th, 2022, and this week there were 122 reported cases of COVID in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County area, which shows a little bit of an increase, 24% over the last 2 weeks. However, we are comfortable not wearing a mask today. And T, would you introduce yourself?
I'm T. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Awesome. Would you just share a little bit about your physical image, T?
Sure. My name is T, and I am an African American female. My culture consists of African American as well as Haitian. My dad is from Haiti. I am I would say average height, although some people have told me 5'5" is not average. It's okay. I have a jovial tone most of the time. My hair is long. I transition it quite often. And that's pretty much it. I don't have no apparent physical disabilities.
You have a really lovely smile.
Thank you.
So T, did you grow up in Charlotte?
Actually, no. I relocated from another state, a northern state as well.
Okay, awesome. How long ago was that?
About 7 years ago.
So you've been here for 7 years. Wow.
Yes.
How do you like Charlotte?
I absolutely love it. I love the whole culture of the city itself. Coming from a very busy city, more urban-like, predominantly urban, Charlotte gives you a taste of difference. So you got, like, if I could put it to a food analogy, you got chicken, you got salad, you got some vegan food. It's a different mixture, and I enjoy that as well.
Awesome. I love that. I love the diversity, for
Yes.
sure. Has there been a really incredible meal experience you've had recently?
No, I've mainly been, my family eats pretty much a mixture of everything.
Okay.
So here in Charlotte, there's so much to go out to get different fooderies, restaurants, eateries, always upcoming new vibes of different things. So I'm excited about that.
It's very progressive, right?
Very.
Constantly I'm finding all types of new restaurants. So T, tell me, we did this activity together called the hand map. Is there anything that you would like to share from your hand map with us?
Sure. One of the things, two of the things I would like to share. A big leap or change in my life that I had made. I transitioned from New Jersey to North Carolina. I started the process of a business, and I'm becoming more awakened. My spiritual horizon I'm being more inclined. I am a believer of God. I believe in the Bible, but there's some things that weren't apparent to me when I was a child, which are now that I'm learning. I'm becoming more in tune with history, the history of African Americans as well, and the truth of it. So I'm excited about that. I was asked to describe COVID.
Yeah.
And it may seem harsh, so forgive me to the audience. I put isolated, destroyer, and change.
Wow. Those are some really strong words. Can you kind of share, what do those words mean to you?
Isolated because when it occurred, it was like the precautions everyone had. It's a virus. It attacked the immune system, the respiratory system. So there was precautions, like we have everyday precautions. It's known to wash your hands after a meal, after going to the bathroom. However, these precautions came with isolating yourself, going from everyone hugging, shaking hands. Those are ways to greet people. So now you don't do that as much. People say hello and they stand off and they just wave to you. Hi, hello. So and I enjoyed that. it didn't come with a disturbed nature or anything like that. It was warm. It was comfort. So with COVID came, put on a mask. If you hear even today someone coughing in 2022, people get this hysteria like, I'm going to catch it. Like, this is a disease. It's going to kill somebody. Get away from me. And there's some different mind frames around that. Yeah. People tend to think that certain cultures are the ones that are predominantly carriers of the COVID virus. I said destroyer because I've heard, seen. I work for a great major healthcare system in Mecklenburg County. And I've seen people pass away because of this. Yeah. Going from the onset of being having COVID to the ICU to some not making it and some making it. So it's been a destroyer. Yeah. There's a song that says what the world needs now is love, sweet love. I wish we can get back to that. Feels like it's diminished. It's so far-fetched. We still care, but you don't feel the great capacity. Yeah. Also, there was a lot of change with COVID. Yeah. Some jobs were no longer available to people, so that's a substantial provision for people. So they couldn't be at their jobs because maybe the company closed down. Maybe there was not enough funding for the workers. And then the flip side, coming out of COVID, and are we really out? That's still a question to be asked. Now, a lot of the merchants in the local marketplace, they need people to work, and people don't want to work because there's a different mind frame. People became more dependent upon their skill set, their giftings. So they started businesses on their own. They decided that's not the job that I need. I don't want to be exposed to COVID. A lot of the retail, restaurants, Sarah, maybe there's some other industries you can think of, but a lot of companies decided, we're not gonna outbeat this. COVID came and did a world change.
It did.
And we begin to see the experience of that. It was hurtful. Families were, they didn't make it a lot of times. Some family members, the older population, they were hit by and affected by COVID. So those would be the three names that I would give to it. Isolate, destroyer, and change.
So, wow, destroyer.
Destroyer.
Yeah.
Think of, like, when you think of the movies Jaws, that animal, I don't think the animal intentionally knew that it was, coming to sabotage your life, but the COVID. And there's theorists, there's different people that they go around and they say it was created to destroy. It had a purpose to eliminate. I don't want to conform or confirm to that, but there's a lot of thought process around that, to depopulate. Some people are strongly stating that that's what the subliminal message in us being impacted by COVID. They're wondering, how did it just pop up? Because a lot of people say, look at your bleach bottle. Coronavirus has always been around. So there's a whole thought, but shying away from that and getting on to how isolated we was. Yeah. The isolation brought change for a lot of people. Yeah. Besides being consciously aware about keeping on your mask everywhere you go, whether you're in the supermarket, if you're purchasing clothes, wherever you are, public bathrooms. Some people would carry their own hand sanitizer. So it brought a lot of change.
It did.
And there's still some thoughts about it, like stay away. If you hear somebody sneezing, coughing, or blowing their nose, it's always thought that the COVID is somewhere, the person has COVID or they do have it, or you're going to get it. So unfortunately, it's not the same world that we used to live in. Yeah. You don't feel the so-called warmth. People they're kind of different. They're distant now. So, hopefully we can recover and get back to that. Whatever that recovery means, whatever it is, we need to stand on the things that made our country. Yeah. And some people would be questioning, what is that? But we need love. We need to advocate for one another. We need to be around. We shouldn't allow a virus to cause us to be this separate, because you're going to need someone. I know people in my neighborhood were not even speaking because they were under the impression that if I knock on the door and they have COVID, I'm going to get it. So I had an elderly neighbor who did have COVID, and I checked on her, and I reached out to some other neighbors, and we made sure she was all right. That's the kind of world we want to go back to.
The fear, yeah. The fear that kept people, in the unknown, but coming out of that, what's next?
Yeah, what's
That's
next?
Beautiful.
And hopefully nothing is upsurfacing, nothing is going to arrive. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Tei, you mentioned that a lot of like in response to COVID, a lot of people started to understand their passions and start small businesses. And you mentioned that you're starting a small business.
I am.
Did that come out of this season, and what kind of business are you starting?
Actually, no, it did not come from the COVID. There was no upsurge of wanting to be an entrepreneur. This is something that is my life purpose and my destiny.
Okay.
I won't give the name, but
I
I will tell you what it is. It is a transitional home for women.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, amazing.
A transitional home which will not give them like the first or second chance. Someone who needs a start over in life and they want to go forward.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we do start over. We start on the path. I can speak for myself. We start on Monday, I want to lose weight. Come Wednesday, you need to start all over again. But there gets to a momentum where you say, you know what, I'm going all the way. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to measure out my calories. I'm going to go to the doctor to make sure that my hormones are working properly, that nothing can stop me from getting to my end goal. You connect with a gym, or you decide to get a walking path. You take more water in. You come to the point where I got to be resolute about this because I want to live a little longer. I want to be around.
Yeah.
I want to make an impact. And that's what I know that I've been chosen to do this. I've tried to get away from it. I've tried to push it to the back of my mind. This came from my transition from one state to the next. It's always been there. And I knew that as I was led to relocate, this is where it's going to happen, right here in the great old Queen Charlotte, right here in Charlotte. So,
so your own experience kind of stirred your passion for helping those who are transitioning in terms of housing?
I can definitely relate. It's not. Sometimes people say, "Oh, you had that experience." I can understand. Sometimes you really need to walk in someone else's shoes to get a great understanding.
Yeah.
It needs to hit you personally.
Yeah.
And it had hit me personally, this transition type of thing.
Yeah.
It goes beyond just being homeless. Okay, so if a person is homeless, they don't have a home. A home means that you're not established pretty much. So if you're in the streets, you can always bunk and live with someone else, but you don't have your own. So I understand what that's like, but I know what it's like to be without.
Yeah.
Trying to make that establishment, trying to be counted in, trying to become a citizen.
Yeah.
Contributing back to society.
Yeah.
You want to do something yourself. You want to feel independent. You want to come to the place where, you feel good about yourself in life. So I know it goes a little bit beyond that, but that's the surface of it.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that.
Thank you for sharing.
You are welcome.
I guess a question that I have for you
is,
how has your life changed over the last 2-3 years? And like during the COVID pandemic and the lockdown, and now we're kind of transitioning out of it. How has it changed for you, Tei?
I love people. Not that I don't have. We all are. We have a compassionate side. We should.
Yeah.
I enjoy being around people. I like talking to people. I find that I have an inner nature of always wanting to advocate, and I hear a cry and I want to jump right in. I don't try to play God. That role is too big and it's already occupied. However, it's changed me because I'm not around people as much. I'm mainly with my family, and I'm home, and when I go out, I get my mission accomplished and I'm back home. I spread myself thin at times. I don't go to concerts when I want to, so I feel precautioned I feel like let me take the time out to stand back. You know, a friend of mine was wanting me to go out with her and go see a local artist down at the one of the theaters, and I was like, too many people.
Yeah.
I've seen the face of COVID.
Yeah.
If you know, somebody would say, what does it look like? Does it have a face? Sure, it does.
Yeah.
It's a virus. It took a lot of people out. It caused families to be separate and friends to no longer, you know, be as close and people not to be around one another. So it came in and did a division on its own.
Yeah. Wow. It's so interesting to see how our lives can change so unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly.
Do you feel like there have been some long-lasting consequences from COVID?
I work for a very great major healthcare company. And I have heard a lot of the patients state that, like, their breathing isn't the same. They haven't regained their taste buds, or they feel debilitated in certain areas of their body, different things like that. So I would say that's a side effect that has been, I don't know if it's permanent, but it has lasted as long as the COVID has been on set.
Yeah. How about for your own life? Do you feel like there's been any consequences? And the consequences can be both positive or negative. It doesn't
I would say mine's is emotional. I would definitely, because there's this thing that when I'm in a certain environment, I don't know, I could be in the store, and when it first happened, and I felt like I blamed people in a sense. I'm being transparent, not blaming them for the virus, but it was like, you're going to walk around without a mask.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And that was because that consciousness was amongst everyone.
Yeah.
That was spreading. That was being pervasive. It was hitting people. She doesn't have a mask. You remember in school when you were coming up and somebody did something different and everybody did the name game. They pointed. And I felt the same way. What are you doing? You're in the store and you don't have a mask on. And I literally, one time a woman was in there with her baby and I walked up to her. I said, hi, how are you, ma'am? How's things going? She says, fine. Because she had this shield up as, what do you want?
Yeah.
And I pulled out, I got this for you. And she says, no, thank you. However, when she walked away, she made her own personal choice.
Yeah.
I walked away, but there was this consciousness. Why did she not take the mask? You see, it created that hysteria. We have emotions, and not all of them were positive. So I kind of walked away with that and not being proud of it.
Yeah.
It took some time to come away from that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very interesting perspective. Do you think that there are any good things that you learned from your experience?
The experience of...
Just the last 2-3 years of working in a healthcare facility, or of going to the grocery store and seeing people not wearing masks. And do you think, or just in your personal life?
I had to mature with this whole COVID-19, the SARS virus. I had to come to the understanding that people are going to perhaps not wear masks. There were people that were telling me it's prohibiting me from breathing. I don't like this type of mask. The other type of mask, even when I wore a mask, there were people that I were very close to. They said it's causing my skin to break down. There was all kind of things taking place. One good thing I can hear people saying, I wash my hands more. We should have been doing that the whole time. However, the most positive side that I can look at it is that people became strengthened enough to know that if the world presents to semi-shut down, meaning things are not going to function as normal, if my job is not going to be the one available to me, I have something in me, a skill set, a gift, a second nature, or a plan B, another idea that I can come out and start doing something for survival mode. I would never want to imagine the world being desolate without. There's some countries that go through such things. I am so grateful that we can still function and go out and work and earn a wage and become business owners and give back to others. I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
But just to be somewhere where that was not present, I don't know how I would function. So I would say maturity. That was the positive thing that I came out and I grew with. I learned to stop blaming others. I learned to stop looking at people in a way where I needed to be precautionary to them. You should take precautions regardless, for anything. I still want to show love. I may not give hugs like before because there's a lot of people that don't even want to receive them. They don't even want a handshake.
Yeah.
There was one man, he says, how you doing? And I went to go shake his hand and he says, oh, I can hear you. I understand. So I respected that. I respected the choices.
Yeah.
I came away from pointing fingers, the name game, the blaming, okay, we're a little isolated, but let's check on one another still.
Yeah. Wow. Such a good truth for sure. You mentioned that you've been feeling throughout the last few years that there is that feeling of isolation, and you talked about what that looked like for the whole world, isolation. In terms for you, when the COVID restrictions kind of forced us into our homes to isolate, how was that experience like for you?
I am a social butterfly. Butterflies fly, they transition, they go through change, they represent so much. So that was almost like taking me and putting me in a jar and closing the lid.
So it was challenging.
It was challenging. It was like,
Yeah.
I made it through it.
Yeah.
I made it through the whole transition, of being not so open to people, not accessible, and not being able to, if I wanted to shoe shop with a friend of mine or just sit down and listen to some poetry or what have you, that wasn't available anymore.
Yeah.
When I did hear of things, I think for me it was just like I had to choose. I had to make choices through the COVID. Should I go? Because if I go, how do I know if people are going to follow the guidelines, the safety guidelines that were mandated? Wear your mask if you're if you're inside as well as outside. Then we went through transition of now the masks are relaxed. Then people created another hysteria. The numbers are going to spike. Who wants numbers to spike? You mentioned in the beginning of the live how there was a certain amount of people documented already with the COVID virus. What I don't hear as much is the deaths. I don't say that it's not occurring, but when it first occurred, when it was like the start of COVID, people were instantly dying. Some people just wasn't making out of it. And there was a large portion that I came into knowing about the elderly. So then I heard, get vaccinated, and I'll just leave that whole thing there. I have no comments about for or against.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned at the beginning that one of your passions is learning about history and how you've grown through that. Is there anything that you wanted to share with us that you learned?
All right, let me go on the record and say I'm not a physician, nor am I standing in the stance of being a medical doctor or anything of the such. However, one portion of history that I'm learning that related to health, I've been spending time with people in society that have made an impact that may have not gotten appraisal or applause. Dr. Sebi, SEBI, he had helped to cure people with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and it was documented. He's no longer with us. I want to call him a herbologist, but he went a little bit beyond that. He studied the acidities in bodies. If you're in an alkaline state, he studied where disease when it's manifested and different things to do. So these are, in a sense, and I'm not downplaying it, much respect. Practitioners of old had a lot of ways that helped to me in modern times. I don't disregard conventional medicine. I think it's needed. It has helped I have taken conventional medicine prescribed by the physician. However, there's some medicinal medicines, herbs, and apothecary that have helped to really heal people. And a lot of times, people will not go and say that this is something you need to follow. This is something you need to pay attention to. So that's where I'm at with that.
Okay, thanks for sharing. To respect your time today, T, I guess my last question for you is, do you have any stories or experiences over the last 2-3 years that you would like to share with us?
I'll share one story if you join in with me.
Okay.
There was one story of a man. He was in ICU. And while he was in ICU, 40 days. ICU stands for intensive care unit. So intensive care unit. You got nurses, nurse practitioners, doctors, physicians working around the clock, working on their respiratory, working on different parts of the body to help bring the person holistically back, integrative medicine back to their norm or to a certain degree of where they're going to revive. For 40 days, could you imagine having a loved one in the intensive care unit and you're just not knowing, are they progressing or should we be preparing for a ceremony? And I'm not talking about a wedding ceremony, obviously. However, after the 40 days, myself along with the healthcare staff, we gathered in the lobby because the patient was going to be discharged. His wife was outside. She had a camera, and it's touching because she didn't know what was going to happen to her husband. Here's her lifelong partner, and she's waiting for him to be released maybe on the 10th day. Nothing happens. Maybe on the 12th day, nothing happens. But the 40th day, he gets released from the hospital. He's clear to go. So imagine the turmoil in her mind, in her emotions, in her physical being. The questions she had. Why my husband? Why my mate? And this is a song that she sung. We sung it along as we gathered. We, the healthcare staff, it was nurses, it was a physician, it was administration, it was staff, and we got together. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. So.
Wow. Ooh, I felt goosebumps when you sang that. Thank you for sharing that story.
You are welcome.
It's a beautiful story of resilience and hope. And he left the hospital.
He left healed.
That's amazing. Not everyone has that experience.
Not everyone has that story. You are absolutely right, Sarah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, T. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
You are welcome.